Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, sir.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Oh,
how be ye?
I'm sorry, I should have said good day, Mr. Bober.
I know who I am. It's okay.
I've only done 72 of these. You'd think I'd get it right.
Yeah, it's okay. Is there really a right way to do this?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, me neither. That's why it's fun.
Guess what?
I don't know.
Our listeners are just killing us, man. This is awesome stuff. We can't thank you enough. Our numbers, you guys are telling everybody. And that's a beautiful thing.
That's fantastic.
This is the greatest thing ever. I mean, if we go through the summer like this, and I'm telling you this, the audience, we are going to be a force to be reckoning with.
Absolutely.
It's going to be great. I'm telling you, just keep telling everybody thank you so much for this. And the donations and clicking through the Amazon banner. And, of course, we forget this all the time. But the guy that's just putting in the hours that just is not even asking anything.
Mr. Seditas?
Yeah.
I knew that's where you were going.
With the quick lick, the guy just pulls them out. And then I'm like, well, I can't play it.
I know. I look at that and... that's why he does what he does.
Yeah.
And I listen.
He doesn't even flinch when he's playing. He's just, there you go. So, yeah, definitely pay attention. That's on our front page.
That is. The Jason Seditas Quick Lick.
Quick Lick. And, just keep this pirate ship going, man. Oh, sorry, Viking ship. That was Adam Carolla. We're a Viking ship. We're not going to attack your town, but, we'll come in and yeah, exactly.
We someday might wind up in
I
your
think
town.
this would be cool, man, if we could take this on the road and get, like bands and have people out in the audience. I got this crazy idea like that,
But that means we can only go where there's water if it's a Viking ship.
Well, it's like a land shark.
Oh, okay. I'll go with that.
So, starting off this episode, I want to give credit where credit's due. Eddie Trunk, I listen to his show, and I'll give him a plug. He's had Doug Aldridge on. He kind of had it backwards, but he had Doug Aldridge on, and he had Dee Snider on. Now, I don't know if anybody out there knows this or not, but it was kind of like a little Twitter thing going on where they were going back and forth at each other. Okay. Dee Snider pretty much said that he pointed out Doug because he lives in Vegas now. And he saw a sign that said Doug Aldridge of Whitesnake. And it kind of pissed Dee off. And Dee said, look, I don't know where you guys come off that come into these bands when they're 20 years old or whatever and say you're in the band. He said, he doesn't like the way that they phrase it. He says that, you're hired guns, you come in, all of the tunes that made this band probably been long written, just played forever. And he said that when he meets guys that are some of these hired guns that he knows, they come up and he goes, hey man, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm playing with Def Leppard. Mm-hmm. He doesn't, he said that when they start touting themselves, because I'll give you another one, Tracy Guns. Right?
Okay.
They actually put on a marquee somewhere, Tracy Guns, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Now, that's a joke.
Yeah, that's not. And Tracy Guns is not even in LA Guns anymore.
No.
I don't think.
And the Guns N' Roses thing, I think, was like, it was so quick. Now, no albums, no nothing.
Right.
It was the meat and potatoes of that was Slash, Gilby Clarke. And
we need a guitar player for a couple of dates. And,
yeah.
Kind of thing.
So, my question to you is where do you stand? Because I'll tell you my opinion.
Okay.
And I agree with Dee. And what I mean by that is that, you know, that original format made it what it is, right? Like, Wolfie is not Michael Anthony, okay?
True.
So that, you know, he's a good player. He can play those parts. He doesn't necessarily sing like Michael Anthony. I've seen him live. He doesn't have that higher register like Michael did. So it's not the same. And now, look, it's his dad's band. I mean, basically, he can say that. But, you know, Michael Anthony was there. He was the guy. And Michael Anthony's a very unique bass player because he's not one of these flash guys. He really was just like a 70s bass player in a rock band. He held down the bottom end.
Right.
And he did a very good job. And he was an excellent backup singer.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, that's how I look at it. It's like when you remove one of those elements, you don't have the same thing.
You don't have the same thing, but here's my take on it. And it's a little different than yours. I think it should have something to do with your length of tenure with the organization.
And that was Eddie's thing towards Doug, because Doug was in the band for over 10 years and did 2 albums.
Exactly. And he probably got writing credits
on those 2 albums.
On those 2 albums. And, you know, he wasn't there from the beginning.
And 97 was the big one. You know, that was...
Right.
That was... And John Sykes. Poor John Sykes.
Yeah.
Now, think about this. John Sykes wrote that album. He played on every song. But he wasn't in one video, and he didn't do the tour. They had Vivian Campbell and Adrian Vandenberg as the guitar players. Later to be replaced by Steve Vai was Vivian Campbell. Yes.
Right.
Vivian Campbell was replaced by Steve Vai. Vivian Campbell went to Def Leppard. But, you know, think about that. John Sykes is not even known for that album. And unless you're a guitar head, to really go, God, that was some of the best writing that guy's ever done.
Right. Well, so, you know, I mean, personally, I think if you've been with the organization long enough, if you're just not a fill-in for a tour or part of a tour, you're actually integral to that band during an extended period. I think you have the right to say that you're with that band.
Okay.
The other...
With or in?
In.
Okay.
I'm sorry, in.
Okay.
In. Okay. I know we're talking...
we're splitting hairs here, but it does make a difference.
Because it is a matter of semantics at this point, and I
Yes,
should have gotten that correct. But the other thing that needs to be looked at is how were you contracted?
Yeah.
How were you contracted? That's a big part of that. You know, if you were brought in as part of this band contractually, I think you have the right to say you are part of this band and you play in this band. If you're brought in as a hired gun and you get a fixed pay, no matter, you know, you don't make any points, you don't get credits, you don't get points, you get a fixed salary to go out and play on tour, and to be there for recording purposes, but you don't get writing credits. You know, you don't share arrangements, and you don't get. There's no mailbox money involved. You just get a paycheck. Then maybe you're not allowed to say you're in the band.
Now, here's the irony to that, because Vince Neil is actually under that type of contract with Motley Crue because he left, and John Karate, or I forget it, the guy that took his place for one album, and then he came back. Well, when he came back, Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee, they own the band, right?
Right.
So they put him under one of those contracts. Now, look, he was in the original lineup, so that just gets washed. I don't care how they had it there. You know, that's a whatever on that one. But it's kind of funny that they got him under that kind of contract.
Right, as a
he's just a guy.
As a contract player, yeah.
And kind of wonder why they're quitting.
Well, look, I mean, you know, probably the longest standing example that I can think of. And I think this person probably has to say he plays with this band and he's not in this band. Daryl Jones, bass player for the Stones.
Oh,
Been
Yes.
there forever. Replaced Wyman forever ago.
Yeah, that's a permanent retainer.
And he never even gets. There are only 4 Rolling Stones in any pictures that you ever see.
You never see
He's
the guy.
never in the pictures.
But meanwhile, he's been on every tour.
Oh my God! And he's been there forever.
And he's been on the album.
And he's been on the album, right? Yet he's a hired gun. Now I'd love to be on the end of that mailbox there, but he's been with them.
I totally forgot that
He's been with them probably longer than Wyman at this point. I don't even remember when he started, but he's been there for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
And it's like, he's not an official member of the Rolling Stones.
Well, that's like Zakk Wylde, but Zakk Wylde was on a lot of the albums that really made a difference for Ozzy, right? So you had Blizzard, and then you had Diary of a Madman. That was the 2 Randy Rhoads. Then you had Bark of the Moon. That was Jake E. Lee. But then that's when Zakk came in, and they did what is it? Babies. I forget what. There's a whole bunch of albums that came.
Enough.
But No More Tears, all those songs that came, that was all Zakk Wylde. So, and Perry Mason, there's a handful of albums that Zakk was on. So you could say, yeah, he was in Ozzy's band. I mean, that guy.
You'd have to say so.
Like I told you, he was in longer than Randy.
Right.
And then Joe
that was through no
Holmes.
fault of anyone.
No. But but then the conversation with those two, they got into Foreigner. Now, Foreigner, there's no original members. Was it Mick Jones?
Right.
He comes out only every so many shows, does a couple tunes. He doesn't even play the whole show, and then leaves.
Wow.
So there's no original members that are quote unquote in that band. That's one of those ones, and this is what Kiss is talking about. See, the 2 guys that replaced Ace and Peter, they wear the makeup that Ace and Peter did. And there's like this whole, and I know this is so crazy because these are grown-ass men arguing over makeup, but I guess the thing is that these 2 guys came in to the band and they took over these 2 characters. They actually portray themselves as Ace and Peter.
Okay.
And they wear the makeup, they do all the moves, I don't even know, maybe they do announce him as Ace Frehley. I don't even know. But it's a little bizarre. And then Gene Simmons said, well, this is a franchise that's going to live when we're all gone. So they already have in the works that a new bass player and a new front singer, the Paul Stanley character, are going to...
So they're already going the way of Foreigner.
Yeah, they're going to... They've already got planned. They're going to own this franchise, and I'm sure their kids are going to own this franchise.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're just going to get hired guns that are going to come in. They're going to portray Gene. They're going to portray Paul. There's enough cover bands, tribute bands of Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
That roster will probably go on for eternity. But it's like, that's a weird thing.
So Kiss cover bands, and tribute bands, send your videos in now for
Exactly.
up for consideration some year,
Yeah.
And
but my take on it is that I like when the band just I like when they're done.
Okay.
I look at it this way is because if you start replacing guys, eventually there's no guys to replace.
True.
They're all gone. Now, Foreigner was one of those bands that I associate with the 70s. Now this thing is like the 4 Tops or something. There's nobody in the band that you go, yeah, I didn't see them in 1975. They were.
So what do? You change the name of the band to We Play Foreigner?
I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of, it just seems so...
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It seems so, kind of show-tuney type thing to me. It's almost like it's just a business. And it's like, well, seriously, Foreigner was one of those bands that they wrote great tunes.
Totally.
So when it starts to dissolve, well, then just, look, I don't know this going on anywhere else. You know what I mean?
You mean in any other industry kind of thing?
Sports teams are sports teams, and they're going to have people come and go all the time. But that has nothing to do with this. This is just
true.
I don't know. It's like you captured that moment, right?
Like maybe
They can't do a new album. It would suck.
Maybe it happens in TV shows where characters, if it's a long-running franchise.
Well, they jump the shark. And
characters,
But
okay, so the bands are jumping the shark. There
exactly.
There you go.
Because, I mean, it's like Skynyrd, right? Skynyrd puts out a new album, and you go, that doesn't sound like Skynyrd. Mm-hmm. That isn't the Skynyrd that I grew up with.
But how do you know that it's not what Skynyrd would sound like today?
Yeah, but that's one of those things, right? You know what I mean?
Skynyrd 2015.
But you know what I'm saying.
I do know what you're saying. And, it's...
There's just no more...
There's no real answer.
Is it called lack of integrity or something? No morals? I don't know what you want to call it. It's because, I look at the whole thing like Skynyrd or Foreigner. Somebody's just making a buck at that point.
Look, everybody's got to make a living.
I understand that. But really... I don't know. Look, the guy that sings, he sounds just like Lou Gramm. The guy that sings in Journey now sounds like Steve Perry.
Guy that sings for Yes.
The guy that sings for Boston.
Yeah, right.
That guy worked at Home Depot. Granted, that's great, but it's like it's not the guy.
I know it's not the guy, but look, you can't fault the guy for taking the position. I mean, you either work at Home Depot or go live your life's dream and sing on stage.
Well, no, I'm not blaming anybody like that. Look, I understand when you get that opportunity, you got to take it, right? But what if somebody
I'd probably insist on chicken wire. But.
Yeah. But what if somebody was like, oh my God, this is Stevie Ray Vaughan's clone, and the guy went out and said, "Well, I'm Stevie Ray Vaughan." And people would hang that guy.
Well, that's because it's someone's name and not a band name.
Okay. I don't.
Different.
I guess.
There could be a Foreigner with no members, but there can't be an Ozzy without Ozzy.
Exactly. Well, look.
Let's leave it there.
And you know what?
Discuss amongst yourselves.
To go with the debate of wood.
Oh, because everything's debatable.
Yes.
And this debate doesn't seem to want to die anytime soon.
But guess what?
I don't know what.
Our guest.
Oh.
Speaking of wood, he takes wood and he makes beautiful instruments and puts strings on them and calls them guitars, and he does a wonderful job. Yes, he does.
So, we will take a quick break here, and then we're going to bring you the man that takes wood and makes beautiful guitars out of them, and his name is Jon Sullivan, but his friends call him Sully.
Hi, this is Rich Tizzoli, producer, engineer, and TV composer. And you're listening to Amps and Axes.
All right, and we're back, and as promised, Mr. Jon Sullivan of Sully Guitars. Sully, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you guys doing?
Doing very well. Doing very well.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, as promised or as threatened?
I could always edit.
It could go either way.
That's right. Well, thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy making very cool instruments.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
so thanks for being on with us. It's always
absolutely.
It's always cool to have builders on. I mean, we have a wide array of people involved in the music business, and it's always cool to have builders on to see where their heads at. Where they what they're doing and where they got it from.
Well,
where they got the idea from.
And it was funny because me and YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. I'm all over it. So one day I stumble upon Sully, and I'm watching these, and he's doing commercials for like Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee.
Dunkin' Donuts coffee, yeah.
I mean, he's literally like plugging it, doing the whole commercial on this video where he shows you how he fixes a Les Paul broken headstock, right?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and so I'm watching and I'm going through and I'm watching some more things, and then I'm like, I see one where he's playing, and he's a fantastic player.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
I mean, he's got, you can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're obviously a huge Randy Rhoads fan.
Yes, absolutely.
He does some Randy Rhoads tunes, and he does them perfectly, man.
You've got, we've all had those, we all have those moments in life where, you never forget where you were. It's like, I never forget, when I first heard Kiss. I'd never forget the first time I heard, Van Halen 1. But my introduction to Randy Rhoads was rather impactful, but it was after he had passed. But yeah, I'm a ridiculously huge fan of Randy Rhoads, but I'll stop that.
Well, you said we all remember where we were, so take us back a little. I always you like to go back a little bit. Take us back a little bit, like where was Sully born and raised, and what got you into playing and then building? I'm assuming that's the order of things.
Yeah.
So, give us a little history.
Actually, it's been a little bit kind of all mixed together, but I was born and raised. Well, I was born in Milwaukee, raised in Chicago, and what got me started? Geez, I was walking in the grocery store with my mom. I was probably about 7 or maybe about 7 years old, and just kind of walking around the grocery store with your mom like you do. Mm-hmm. And we passed the newsstand, and I see 16 magazine, and this is like 77, 78 or so, and I see Kiss is on the cover. I'm like, what is that? And I was a huge fan of superheroes as a kid, and Batman and Spider-Man, and so these guys kind of look like superheroes, but they're playing guitars. And I later saw a picture of Ace and just smoke just pouring out of this Les Paul, and I'm like, that is the cool. Once I learned, I saw that, and that was really awesome. And then I learned that girls liked them. Sign me up, because
that's right.
That was the coolest thing I ever saw. And then nobody knew what they looked like, and it was it was really cool, and they were superheroes. And so I started playing soon after that. My sister had a little nylon string acoustic guitar that she was supposed to learn how to play, but she never did. And I swiped it, and a record other than Rock and Roll Lover by Kiss, which is the first Kiss record I ever got when I was a kid. I also had this album of Alvin and the Chipmunks called Chipmunk Punk, and I will still. It is awesome. It's awesome. It's a great record. It's got like My Sharona, and it's got Refugee by Tom Petty on it. Oh my God. It's got like it's probably got some. I think it has an ELO song on there. I don't know. And it's
was it brought to you by K-Tel?
It could have been
for sure.
And so I remember just trying to figure out how to play My Sharona on my Chipmunk Punk album, and that's kind of all downhill from that. And my grandfather got me Mel Bay's Big Note guitar book, and nice. And I was playing some big notes. And
if you're gonna learn right.
Exactly.
Here's a book.
Good old Mel.
That's right.
Man. But and then I just kept playing and playing and playing, and I got my first decent electric when I was 14 or so, which is a BC Rich NJ Warlock, and that thing was great. And by then I was a huge fan of Motley Crue, and they had some sweet BC Riches, and so I was excited to have one of those. And while that was kind of going on, I was learning a little bit on building them. This is a really long story, so I'm going to try and keep it really short for you. But
we got as long as you want.
Yeah. So I when I was about 14 or so, and I had this Warlock. That guitar was awesome, and I loved it. But I still really wanted a Les Paul because of Ace, and Randy had one. And while Randy's Les Paul wasn't my favorite of his guitars, it's still another reason to get one.
Sure.
And my stepfather, he played, and he had a Les Paul, and when he would go to work, I would totally, just yank it out of his room, and I would just play that thing. And I found out that there was around Christmas time, there was a local music store that was selling Les Paul kits, and I'm like, maybe we'll get one of those, And I just begged and pleaded like you do, at Christmas time. But it was like one of those that would have actually paid off. And I got the kit, and like my aunt and some of my uncles, they kicked in and got me some DiMarzio pickups and like a subscription to Guitar Player magazine, and I'm like, this is gonna be sweet. And
I'm set.
It's all I needed, I just needed some glue for the neck and strings. And
so it was actually a set neck.
Yeah.
Kit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And
surprisingly, you can get those today.
I know today, but it's like back then I'm thinking, okay,
this
crazy. This has to be a bolt-on. It's a kit. It's got to be a bolt-on.
That is
holy wow.
The set neck.
Wow.
And years ago, when I was, I don't know, maybe drunkenly scouring eBay, I found another one of those kits. And the only reason that I remembered it was because the body was alder, and it had like an ash top, which is really super random. Yeah. But I liked it because when I painted the guitar, I painted it black eventually, But, you know, I didn't know anything about grain filling or anything like that. The internet wasn't around. All I had were Stuart McDonald catalogs that I would just kind of drool over and not really, you know, do much else with it. And I thought it was cool that although the guitar was black, you know, all the paint kind of sinks into the pores. So you could still see like the pores from the ash and stuff. So when I saw this thing on eBay, I'm like, that has to be from that same manufacturer. But anyway, so we glue the neck in, and I get it all kind of, you know, done up and ready to go. And I take it to the local music store, and the guy that did the repairs there, he was kind of like the cool guy that you got lessons from, and he also built like parts guitars, and he was friends with Glenn Tipton of Judas Priest, and so he was like this pretty happening dude. Mm-hmm. And so I bring the guitar to him, and I'm like, hey, you know, I built this, and, you know, can you, you know, set it up for me so it plays? And he's like, yeah, you built this? I'm like, yes, sir. And he's, you know, kind of looking and sighting down the neck and stuff, and he just kind of stops, and he puts his head down, and he's like, man, I don't know how to tell you this. You did such a nice job on it, but this neck is so twisted, it's never going to play. I was crushed. I was just crushed.
Wow.
I was just crushed.
Yeah, man.
But you know, it was. But that's kind of where some of that building stuff, you know, started. And I saved those pickups. And one day at band practice, my bridge pickup went out, and I got on my bike and rode home and grabbed my pickup and a soldering iron and soldered it in the basement. And you know, and you guys had mentioned the video series that I do. If you look in the opening credits, there are some what looks to be very old, like VCR footage of a very young, very large-haired me. That was me when I was 17. And
Nice.
A friend of mine had a guitar. He had an Explorer copy, and he sanded it all down, and he wanted me to paint it like a cow skin. And I'm like, I have no idea how to do that, but of course I could do that for you. And we filmed the whole thing. And his parents were on vacation. And so we spray painted this thing in the basement.
Oh, and the cat was dead.
I mean, clearly, like two of the world's great thinkers. You know,
you can't paint it out where there's dust. You know, you have to be in a controlled environment.
Exactly. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, sure.
Right.
All the fumes can collect. It'll be great. You'll love it.
That's right. Right by the heat pump.
Nobody
so
light a match, right?
Yeah. And we got sheets hanging from the ceiling of the basement. It was such a hot mess. But that's where so much of the video stuff happened. You know, when you mentioned like, you know, doing the commercials and stuff, because I was June Allison for Depend Undergarments, and it was a popular commercial at the time, and so that's where it all kind of started. And I decided I was Bob Vila for some reason, and called This Old Guitar. So that's really where a lot of the video stuff started.
Wow.
But I don't know. We'll jump way ahead. And I started building my own out of parts. You're like, oh Jesus, thank you. I started building my own out of parts in like 2001, and moved on to doing them from scratch, and that's pretty much where I am now. That was a long answer.
No, we love to get the history lesson of the person on the other side of this, man. It's so good. Man, I don't even know where to. Did you ever? Did you ever?
Good to talk to you. Bye.
Did you ever get like the neck straightened out in that guitar and put back together, or
no.
It was just too far gone?
No. Yeah, it's, you know, once if you got a set neck guitar and the neck is twisted to the degree that this was, all you can really do is, you know, you could, if you were really that passionate about it, you could try and remove the neck and build a new one for it. But, you know, that really wasn't in the realm of possibilities. So I was destroyed and was kind of set on a quest to get a Les Paul. And, you know, I've had a few over the years, and a little foreshadowing, but I had a few over the years, but I've never bonded with any of them. And that the video series, Mick, I believe you pointed out where I was fixing that Les Paul Studio. Yeah. That was my last ditch kind of effort at getting a Les Paul that you know would kind of be for me, because I don't really like painted necks and you know stuff like that. So I'm like, I found this basket case. I'm gonna put some Duncan P-rail pickups in it, so you can get like P90 and single coil and humbucker tones on it.
You did like an acoustic bridge on that too, right? Like some kind of fast system, like a fat ass acoustic system. Huh?
It was the LR Bags T bridge, and you know, if we're gonna do it, why the hell not? You know,
I remember there's like a couple pieces where you had to have somebody wire that, right?
Yeah, that was my buddy Pete, who builds amps up in Tulsa, and
This thing was a basket of wires.
it was spaghetti, but I will say that I was really proud of the fact that, as convoluted as this wiring diagram was, I got all the connections. They were where they needed to be. I just screwed up the output jack switch. So it's, you did all this, but, you forgot to put your pants on. So, great job. So that was going to be, I was going to have an oiled neck on that one and do all this neat stuff. But when it was done, I'm like, sounds good. Plays like Les Paul. And I finally realized why I don't like Les Pauls, and it's short scales, and because I'm not the smallest guy in the world. So a 24 3/4 scale guitar
gets a little tight.
Especially around 10th fret up, gets a little nutty, and so I kind of filed that away, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's why any guitar that I've had that was short scale, or that I got rid of, I later found out it was short scale, and there's some other stuff about Les Pauls that I don't particularly care for, like kind of like the ergonomics and things like that. But and I know people are going to be coming down here to light me on fire. But
no, it's fine. I mean, look, as many people don't like them as do.
We've had this conversation. Is that not all guitars find you, and
right.
There's guys that play 25.5-inch scale. Well, there's been a couple famous ones. Hendrix.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was pretty good.
Eric Clapton. Yeah,
I think I heard of him.
These guys are pretty okay. Yeah.
So
I think Sully needs Buckethead's Les Paul.
Oh yeah, because his is like a baritone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy part, and I know you've probably seen this. Some of the SG Supremes, right? That Gibson makes, they're 24 fret.
Really?
Yeah.
24 fret and 24 3/4. I mean, you have to have toothpicks for fingers, man.
Yeah.
You can't press those high frets.
We'll put these extra frets in. You can't use them, but we'll put them in.
It sure does look pretty, though.
That's right.
Decoration.
It runs right up to the pickup.
Yeah. But that whole series, really kind of led me, with that Les Paul, really kind of led me to, honestly, where I am now with my own single cut design. And
nice.
Yeah.
And that was something that I started sketching in 2009. And in some of those old opening credits of the videos, you can see some templates and stuff like that, some real early ones. Uh-huh. And, I designed it in, like I said, 2009, and would just kind of let it sit. And I would kind of keep coming back to it and just making some revisions and things like that. And I've made the first one in like 2013, and I've got the fourth prototype is going on right now. And all I'm really doing with that is just kind of, doing like I added a tone control, because I guess some people like those things. And so let's see what that's going to look like. And this one's going to have a Floyd, because that's kind of where I came from. And,
wow.
So that, and then the carved top version, which is really how I intended it to look. That's we'll start with those probably maybe in June. So I'm going to be really stoked to see what that looks like. And, a lot of people say, and if you haven't seen the guitar, if you just go to my site, you can, it's all over.
You got a nice site, by the way.
Thank you. It's, running the stuff all by yourself. You got to be the web guy and the advertising guy and the marketing guy and the guy that he builds the guitars. But
Jeff knows that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a few of them are really not good at it at all.
But thank you. So yeah, that's I've got some experience with that. But so that I forgot where I was going. But the 71 is that particular model, and a lot of people will say, well, it kind of looks like an Iceman impregnated a Les Paul. And I can kind of see where that's coming from, because I do love, obviously being a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
The Ibanez Iceman, I love those things. They're so cool. And it's not like I sat down and I said, I wanted to, like that Simpsons episode where he's like in the fancy restaurant. He's like, give me the best thing you got on the menu and stuff it with the second best, and gets lobster stuffed with tacos. But it kind of came out that way, and I wanted to make sure that it didn't look like a knockoff of something, because that's one thing that I try and yes, I use some common shapes with some some of the guitars that I build, but I try and put a different kind of spin on them. Mm-hmm. But with the 71, it was really important to me to make sure that while yes, it is it gets its foundation in, the classic American single cut guitar. It's really got its own, to me, personality. It's a 25.5 scale. It's got stainless steel frets on it. It's super comfy. The neck joint is much like on a neck through guitar, where you don't even notice it.
Yeah, we're looking at it now.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it now. You can tell what it's influenced by, but it does have a distinct shape of its own.
Thanks.
It really does.
Yeah, it has its own characteristic, and it looks like it would be comfortable to play, and those are some huge frets.
Yeah.
Those are some speed bumps there. They're like 6100s or something.
It's stainless, right?
Yeah, they're stainless, and yes, they are like chrome manatees. But I'm happy to put in smaller frets if somebody wants them.
Cool.
I like to have railroad ties on my neck.
I don't like them too big.
Yeah.
Big enough, but not too big.
Right.
But that was the thing with I've told you before, that was the thing with Stevie's guitar with number one.
Yes.
The frets were so big, that's why he could play 13s.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to play larger gauge strings when the frets are so much taller.
You can get the meat of your finger literally underneath the string.
Yeah.
It seems to the notes bent a lot easier as well.
It's almost like a scallop feel.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Ingve approved.
Yes.
Yes. Lest he bring the fury upon you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That tail end, I could see just a little bit of the Iceman, in the tail end.
It's there.
And if you flip it over like the other picture, it looks like the fireman.
Yes, it does.
There you go.
Yeah, but honestly, what it resembles to me a little bit is Breedlove. Breedlove makes some electric guitars that a little bit like that.
Yeah,
and Breedlove is not a company to sneeze at.
No.
They will charge you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I like the stuff I've seen coming out.
The one thing I wanted to ask you is because I was telling Jeff, Caitlin Deaver is I love her show. I watch Last Man Standing religiously. I'm a big Tim Allen fan because he's a real hot rod guy.
Right.
And I had no idea. I'm out on his site and I'm looking and I see artists and I see the name and I'm like, man, that girl, I know this name.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then in there it says, what she does. And now that's like a double cut junior, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that guitar.
So Caitlin, that's a damn it, these long stories. I'm sorry.
Sorry, man.
We were friends. My wife and I are, we're friends with her parents. And my wife's an ice skater, and she was working at a rink with Caitlin's mom, Caitlin's mom and dad. They were ice skating instructors just with my wife, and so they were just family friends. And years ago, maybe 2004ish or so, we went to 4th of July with them, and I had just met them, and if you're kind of meeting your girlfriend's friends and whatnot, it's like, you're really gonna like them, and but they're really super awesome people, and they've got their daughters with them, and at the time they just had 2, and Caitlin and her younger sister Maddie, and so Caitlin's just sitting next to me, and they said, well, Caitlin got a guitar, and she kind of wants to get lessons, and I'm like, oh well, cool. And she's like, yeah, well, I really like guitars. I think they're really cool. And we're kind of going on through the night. She's really, really funny, and she's really, really fast. And at that time, I'm like, you're like Jack Black as a 7-year-old girl. But in that she was kind of fast in that same kind of way. And like School of Rock was just out at that time. And she thought it was hilarious. And so she wanted to take guitar lessons. So I started giving her lessons. And, she and her sister Maddie, they would perform at like the talent shows in grade school, and they would do Kelly Clarkson songs, and they would just be louder than hell. And, awesome. And it was really funny. There's a video that exists, but as Caitlin was getting older, she would grow out of her guitars. So when they eventually moved out to California, because Caitlin started getting acting gigs. Before they left, I showed a picture of the neck and the body just in its construction phase, because I was going to make one of these. I was going to make like a junior style, but again, it's 24 3/4. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with it? I'm not going to play it. So, well, hey, I'll make it and I'll give it to Caitlin. And she was, I was going to do it kind of as a birthday gift kind of thing. But so I built that and gave it to her, and we keep in touch. And I got to see her actually on the set of ABC's Last Man Standing when we were out there in August, and that was great. And she still plays. And the really cool thing about her is that she's just a super talented kid, and it just comes from a really great family, and they're just all really sweet people.
Like.
So it's nice to say.
Next time you talk to her, you have to tell her Mick from Amps and Axes likes the show, and
I will. You know what?
She's really good.
And if her schedule permits, I'm sure she would be a guest on your show because she loves guitars. She's nuts about them, and
that would be different.
When she would come over for lessons, because I would have Jackson King V's and stuff like that, and she loved like pointy guitars and like hair metal shred and like Hillary Duff, because that's what all the kids her age were listening to at the time. So just a super talented kid. Yeah, so she's a great actress, and she's also a really talened musician.
What kind of stuff is she, material-wise, what kind of stuff is she into now? What does your guitar get worked out with?
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? I don't know, because we haven't really talked about that too much. But I know that she recorded a couple of songs, just cover tunes with her sister. They did like Landslide and Ring of Fire, and she does some more kind of indie quiet stuff. As long as she's got a guitar and she still gets some time to use it, I don't really care if she's playing death metal polka. Actually, I'd like that.
That would be cool. Really. Yeah. What's not to like?
Now, on that picture that she's holding up that guitar, is that a short scale because it's got 24 frets?
No, it's a 22, but it's a 24 and 3/4 scale.
He mentioned 24 and 3/4 scale.
Oh, it doesn't have the last dot. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Here, let me pull this back up.
Must have
your dots are after your 12th fret, your dots are 15,
17,
19, and 21.
Yeah, the 21 is not there on the picture.
Oh, there you go.
Get out of town! Did I forget to put a dot?
If you go to your website, you can actually see her pinky is covering 15, then there's 17, 19, and then nothing.
I'm going to need to get that guitar back.
We're going to need to check that out.
We're going to have to call her up. I think it's cool, though, because it kind of throws you.
You just have to go out there, get the guitar, and just take a little nail polish, put it on the neck, and then just leave.
Go.
Put a little dot on the neck and leave. Just like it's completely messed with her.
He comes in. He's got a Makita,
right? Little drill.
Yeah, so I'll give next time I get a chance to talk with him, I'll give Grover Jackson a hard time because for ripping me off, because he does 15, 17, 19, and then that's it. On his new stuff. So
there you go.
That's hilarious.
Glad I could influence you, buddy.
He saw it there first. That's right.
Exactly.
Had to be.
Yeah. What's the pickup in there? Looks like P90ish.
Yeah, it's just a P90. It's just a Ken Armstrong P90. And you're right. It's missing an inlay. How about that?
Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, you built it and you didn't know what you were going to do with it anyway. So
exactly.
It's cool.
I'm sure it found a great home.
I like it.
I'm sitting on the fence. Do I want to put that 21st fret in? Like, screw it.
Yeah. Don't need it.
Yeah, I don't like, me personally, I don't like side dots. And I'm so fat now that, I don't see the front of the neck. So I only see the side. So that's.
You said you don't like side dots?
No, I only like side dots.
Oh, you only like side dots.
I don't like the front inlays. I like it when it's blank.
Yeah.
Because it just looks, to me, it just looks like, well, when you're playing, it kind of gives this illusion, like people are like, how do you know where you are?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's like, well, I got these little teeny ones on the side.
Yeah, I don't look at the top of the neck. I still look at the front. And I wouldn't know where I was past a certain point.
I got to lose 20 pounds. I'll get back to there.
Past a certain number of shots, it's kind of, you need the dots on the front.
That's why. That's part of the reason why I've been experimenting with glow in the dark side dots for bar use.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's been many a night, man. I was like, I hope the lights come on about a second before we start because I have no idea where I am.
And go, I'll figure it out.
Right.
So in your normal production and like the single cut, what pickups are you hot on now? Sure.
Well, I get my pickups direct from Grover Jackson. I used to be a huge. Well, I still am a fan of Duncan's. Specifically the Seymour Duncan Custom.
Oh, okay.
Which is the SH5 for those of you playing along at home.
Yes.
That it for me has been like the be all end all bridge pickup. It does everything so well. Nice. It's got a nice tonal balance. It's got some really great low end. It doesn't get all mushy on you. It doesn't have too much in the highs or the mids, so it doesn't get shrill. It can distort and get super heavy and maintain just a ton of clarity. But it rolls back really nicely and cleans up, and love them. I think they're fantastic. And if you can find the old ones that are wound by MJ, those are a little extra special, even though she will disagree with you, but they are.
So he's got his own like Abigail in there, huh? It's,
MJ. Oh yeah. Well, they're friends. MJ runs the Duncan custom shop, and I believe she was an original Duncan employee. And she was with him. She's been with him for a really long time, and she's a very, very, very sweet lady. So if you get to any of the NAMM shows, or if they do any local shows where Duncan appears, like they do it down here in Dallas, she'll be there and she gives you hugs, and she's a nice lady.
Very nice.
Very cool.
Yeah. But cool. For my guitars, I do have a bit of a, I don't want to say partnership, but I have a working relationship with Grover Jackson and GJ2 Guitars. And I get my pickups from Grover.
Nice.
And everything that I said about the Duncan Custom is what the Habanero Classic bridge pickup does. And and to me, I'm happy to get them because they come from Grover.
Right.
And and as when I was going on about how Ace and Randy were my influences, Grover Jackson has easily been as big of an influence to me as Ace Frehley or Randy Rose or Joe Perry or any of those guys. Awesome. So I use their pickups. Their neck pickup, just the Habanero Classic in the neck position, is a really, really great neck pickup. And I know neck pickups kind of get overlooked, I guess, but it does everything that you want a neck humbucker to do. But it doesn't get like super throaty, and it actually at times, depending on your settings, has some P90 characteristics to it.
Cool.
So yeah, it's really, really unique and in a good way. So
you wouldn't get that. Out. You wouldn't get that from the name because like habanero. I mean, you associate that with hot, so hot pickup.
Yeah.
And like a P90. Actually, the real early humbuckers were not hot at all. They were very much lower output than somebody would think a quote unquote good humbucker is. They were closer to a P90 sound than humbuckers that came after it. And that's a good point with the brand name that he uses for them, and because really what his kind of philosophy with his pickups is that they're not super hot. I mean, they have a distortion rated pickup, but the ones that they use primarily are, just kind of voiced a certain way, and you just kind of let the amp do the rest. And like the Habanero Classic, it's like a medium output pickup. It's wound to about an 8K resistance, which is, on the scheme of things, isn't real hot at all. They do have a distortion rated pickup, like I mentioned, and I've been kind of testing one for almost a year now. That's kind of between the two, and I really, really like that one. And it's yet unnamed, but so it's a Habanero John Doe, I guess you could say, because it has no name, but it's awesome. So. I mean, nowadays, before all of the accoutrement that you have now, your amp didn't have a whole lot of distortion to it, and you needed a really, really like the DiMarzios. Were made to push an amp really hard.
Well, the original BC Riches, remember, they had preamps on board.
Yep.
With the passive DiMarzios that they ran in them.
Right.
And they would cook the front end.
Yeah, but I mean, with I think there's more than one or two overdrive boxes out there nowadays.
Yes, well, back then there wasn't.
Right, exactly.
So they were putting it on the guitar.
There was an LPB1 at first,
Yeah.
and that was like to take the place of a hot pickup. It's hotter than a hot pickup, but of course. But now there's so many flavors of overdrive out there. I think it's more important to have something that can clean up when you want it to.
Yeah.
And then get your drive, from somewhere else. It's to me, it just makes more sense. It's like, if I want the guitar to clean up and the pickup is just not cleaning up, well, I'm not going to get the clean that I want. If you're a guy that knows how to use the volume control, it is put there for a reason, and
Now I have some questions.
Sure.
Okay, so you're friends with Grover Jackson. Obviously, do you know Wayne Charvel and his son Michael? Are you
I've not met Wayne Charvel nor Michael. No.
Okay, we interviewed them. Great bunch of guys.
Oh yeah.
You know that whole story with Wayne and, and Grover. Yeah, that's
I know it very, very, very well. I was an admin on the Jackson Forum for about 6 years, so I learned that whole history.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't go in there, but
no, we won't.
But now, did you ever meet Bernie Rico?
No,
Now, Bernie Rico, I say, was probably one of the crazy innovators of guitar. I mean, that cat was doing neck through guitars and nobody else was. I mean,
with knives in Mexico, yes.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, like the guys like him and Neil Moser, who obviously worked for him and designed some of those iconic designs.
Yeah.
They did some crazy stuff that nobody was doing.
You think about the time, you look at a Mockingbird or even a BC Rich Bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the mid 70s.
Yep.
Right.
Nobody was doing anything like that.
Yeah.
And when you would look at it, you would go, okay, there's 7 switches and 6 knobs. What in the world? But it was all that preamp stuff.
Yeah. And there's 10 strings on it. What the hell?
Yeah. You could get a 10-string guitar where, 4 of the tuners were on the bottom.
On the bottom,
I think.
Crazy
Go ahead,
stuff.
sorry.
I was just going to say, they were just kind of like, they were way far ahead of their time.
Yeah. Space age.
Yeah. I mean, but lasted. That's the weird part. Because usually when you do something crazy like that, it'll kind of whoop, and then it just goes away. And then 20 years later, everybody goes, hey, man, you got to buy one of these. And then another company starts making them again.
Yeah.
Right.
But those original ones where he was 5-piece necks.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing anything like that. It was unheard of. And this guy was just doing it up, man.
And the stuff was made out of koa and
crazy
and
woods.
all kinds of stuff. It's Yep. All very true.
And literally by hand, like you said, with knives.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, didn't a lot of those guys like build other stringed instruments like violins and?
I thought that Bernie was a classical guy originally.
Probably
classical guitar. Yeah, I mean,
when you're using knives, I mean, that's old school, man.
yeah, very much so.
That is
wrap some
wild
string
stuff.
around it to make a handle and sharpen it up, and that's a knife, and let's go.
Go to town. Yeah, man. So your Raven, is that that looks like a little bit of a Firebird, but I know Jackson, didn't they make, or was it who
they
made
did for a very small amount of time.
Okay.
So that's also going back to my hair metal kid roots, where Robin Crosby had some of the coolest Jackson Firebirds that ever existed. And the thing that I like about them, that body shape in general is it's one of those love it or hate it things. Some people are like, oh, it looks like somebody left Gumby on the radiator. And I totally get it. And it does. Yes, it does. But you know what? Sometimes Gumby being left on the radiator is just a great thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And just so everybody knows that's listening, because we go around the world with this, Robin Crosby was the rhythm/lead guitar player for Rat, the original lineup.
Yeah, and really the heart and soul of the band, quite frankly.
And
but
he passed away from what did he die from? AIDS?
Well,
or something. It was bad. It was all bad.
It was very bad.
Yeah.
That's all. We could do a whole other podcast on Robin.
Yeah, we could.
So the Raven guitar, yes, Jackson made a few of them, maybe about 30 or so, in the U.S. Over the years. It was never really an official model. Except for when they did it once in like 97, it was an import model, and the body shape was a little different. It didn't have a raised center block. And it was called the FB2. And those things had like huge baseball bat necks. But I always thought they were really, really cool. Nikki Sixx's Home Sweet Home bass with the black lines on it, that thing was so cool. And then Robin had such cool Firebirds. And the original Raven template, which I don't use anymore, was taken from a tracing that I took of Robin's. It was called his Catfish Firebird. And it was one of his favorites. And it's pretty special. Robin was a friend. And it was kind of a way for me to kind of honor him a little bit. So while it's similar to a Gibson Firebird, it's a lot more. It's got much more in common with its Jackson counterpart, because the body shape is different from the Gibson style. I actually build them in a manner so you don't get neck dive like you will on a Gibson Firebird. And it's also, it's got my headstock design on there, and I put some contours on the back to try and help out a little bit with the upper fret access, because that's
cool, man.
Important.
Yeah, we're looking at it now, and that one that's the Sunburst is, it's
beautiful.
Thanks.
And your headstock isn't 7.5 feet long like a Gibson.
Well,
with the banjo tuners.
No, it's not. But
which is good.
Okay, yeah, I have to go back to a phrase that you used a second ago, because I feel like I need to know more about this, and maybe you guitar builders know, or maybe the guys that really, really know guitars. But neck dive.
Yeah,
headstock takes it down, right?
Yeah. Yep. So it's a
oh,
balance issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the headstock is heavy, and okay.
Yeah, and it's also dependent on where you've got the strap, where your strap buttons are placed, and a few other things. So yeah, that was one of those things that. We've all had that happen. You got a guitar, strapped onto you. You let go, and it kind of scoots a little bit, and it's you kind of have this balancing. You play this balancing act with the guitar, and it's.
That's when you just use a cowboy strap.
That's
sure.
My SG would do that, but it swayed my strap, so it doesn't move.
Right.
That's the only way I can combat it.
The strap is really slick. Yeah,
if I was using one of those cool DiMarzio clip straps, it would go whoop, right down to the floor.
Yeah,
Yes,
I always used to say it's just neck heavy, but neck dive is
same thing.
Same thing. Okay, cool.
Neck heavy. So yeah. But yeah, so that was one of those things that's important to me to not have with the Ravens, and actually any guitar I build, but.
That is very cool.
It's common. It's common on Ravens. It's common on V's too. So I make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when you build one of these, and it says order your own, of course, and now, are you strict on what you do, or if somebody says, "Hey, man, I don't want any finish on the back of the neck," and even though it's a set neck, you'll do that, or how's that?
Yeah,
work?
that's totally cool, because I actually prefer unfinished necks. So,
man after my own heart.
Yeah, so like if you the original 71 prototype, which is that one has like it's made out of black limba, so it's what Gibson calls Carina, and people go ooh it's really expensive, and it shouldn't be, but but yes, I'm happy to build you very expensive guitars from Carina. That one it's got clear coat on the body, on the face of the headstock, and on the back of the headstock, but the neck is oiled.
Oh,
so yeah, that's not a problem at all. So, and usually, like with somebody orders a bolt-on, in my mind, there's also something in the form that'll say, what do you want the neck finish? And oiled is one of them. But in my mind, if I'm building a bolt-on, it's going to get an oiled finish unless somebody tells me something different.
Gotcha. Now, like electronic placement or what you want in the guitars, are you limited to that, or do you? If the customer says, "Hey, I want two volumes, two tones," that type of thing, will you do it?
Yeah, it depends on the model.
Okay.
The only model that I have that I really consider locked down is the 71.
Okay.
Because I won't do a 2-volume, 2-tone configuration. Maybe like a Les Paul. Nor will I put the toggle switch in like the same area where a Les Paul would be, because I don't want it. I don't want to bring the look of the guitar any closer to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've got 3 Ravens that I'm in the middle of right now. All of them have different. I think all of them have different control layouts. I know one's got 2 volumes, 2 tones, and a toggle switch, and we're pretty open with that.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And also, if you put the toggle switch up and the top out, you can't do a windmill. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and that that's important. That's stuff that you got to
That's
think
right,
about.
man.
I mean,
yes,
we buy these things to play, but we also buy them because they're pretty and they make us look cool and more attractive to people. And so, let's
be honest here, right?
Let's consider things, shall we?
Right.
So you teach? Is this your building class? Is this what you do? Get out of town?
Wow.
Yeah, come on down.
This is sweet.
No experience
and
necessary.
you're in Austin, right?
Dallas.
I'm
Dallas.
sorry.
Okay.
It's okay.
Everybody moved to Austin at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
And, now everybody goes, well, that's enough with Austin. Let's.
Yeah, because now Austin's not the same anymore.
They say it's weird.
It's changed.
It's just bizarre.
Weird for the sake of weird, and it's just too populated. And
sorry,
it's okay.
Bobby. Well, Bobby Finnickle, our #1 fan. I think he lives in Austin. I wasn't directed at you, Bobby.
No,
I swear.
no. You can stay.
Bobby, I have 0 issues with Austin and the outlying area. So, the opinions represented here are not. What was it?
are not that of the interviewee.
Exactly.
All hand process as far as carving and yeah.
So you're getting an old school built
old
guitar
school, for sure.
Yeah, for now. I mean, you know, as because I do this stuff full time, and while I'm happy to, you know, make 20 guitars a year, ultimately I'd like to make 100. So, you know, eventually, and it's going to happen this year, there will be a gradual transition to CNC. However, while some people kind of look down on that, or you're not getting your soul and things like that, I'm still going to be doing a certain amount of it by hand.
Sure. Well,
and also, there's,
I mean,
CNC can
also,
only do so much.
Yeah.
It is. You do not take just a block of wood, push a button, and end up with something that's ready to go.
Right.
There is a ton of work to do after it comes off of a CNC.
Wait a minute, I do have to correct you, because the Chinese have been doing it for years. And that shows when you get one.
Oh, yeah.
But,
look, I got a Les Paul for $359.
Right. With case.
Well, just because it's made with a CNC doesn't mean it's made well with a CNC.
There you go.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's really another tool in the shop. And it's really just how, you know, you want to use it. And, you know, I want things to be, you know, repeatable. And if you know, there are certain neck shapes that I have that I want every single one of my guitars to have because they're awesome and I can get really close most of the time. But I want to make sure that I have it on all of them. And, you know, it's only something that people are just going to only benefit from. So.
Yeah. I mean,
it's, you know, people look at like circuit PC board amps the same way. It's like, oh, they're terrible. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, some of the longest running amps out there have been PC board, you know, circuit board from the beginning, a la Mesa. You know,
there you go.
What about Soldano? Wasn't he that way?
Soldano. Everyone that I've ever seen is circuit board.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's different grades of circuit board.
There is too. I mean, go all the way back to early Ampeg. I mean, in the 60s, circuit board.
Really?
You know? Yeah, absolutely. So it's all what the amp winds up sounding like, just like the guitar. It's what it winds up sounding and feeling like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, amps have a feel too, but it's you know, you can't diss anything just because it's not this way. You know, it's not 100% old school. That's bullshit.
Plus, here's the thing, and you know this too, Sully. I'm sure any manufacturer. I really don't care who it is.
Yep.
And they're going to use some kind. A lot of times they use if they use an overhead pin router, they'll get a like a banister bit that does like banister railings for
for your neck carves. Yep.
They will get a rough carve out of that neck first, and then the handwork comes in. Because if you ever take a spoke shave and try to take a square piece of wood and make that thing round, you will either kill yourself by the end, or if you get it done, you will be then living in Amish country. Well, because it is crazy.
I like microplanes myself. Those things are fantastic. They're like they're literally cheese graters. But they make them for woodworking, and they're fantastic for
Stanley. You can buy them at Home Depot for like
these. Yeah, these are a little different though. These are a little bit of a higher grade. But similar, yes.
Yeah, they'll slice you like a cheese grater.
Yeah, they will. Right. So just remember which end is which.
It is true.
But you know, and the thing with the whole CNC thing, and then I'm just going to stop beating the dead horse. That is that, you know, there are people that love Anderson guitars. There are people that love Suhr guitars. There are people that love GJ2 guitars, and many other very well-made instruments. But those are three particular manufacturers that are held in a high regard for build quality, for making a very, very well-made guitar. They're all CNC'd.
Yes, they are.
So, you know, and really the only thing is that a CNC is doing that I'm not is it's holding the router. That's it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's probably not going to well, it can screw up if your code is bad and go, trash a beautiful maple top,
or smash a bit into pieces.
Yeah. So things can go just as wrong. I just won't necessarily wind up bloody from it. So I would much prefer someone holding the router eventually. But until that time, it's me and my router, and I just got a pen router that I'm in the midst of kind of getting up to speed on. But
nice. Is it one of those big giant ones? From the ships?
No.
Okay.
It's 17 feet tall. It's
like
it's got an
the
expression on its face.
The old Fender pin routers basically came off of World War II ships.
Yeah, it's not like that.
And they forklifted them in, and these things had what are they, like 20 horsepower electric motors. Mm-hmm. It would take a digit right off.
Oh,
no question.
There are lesser power tools that'll take a digit right off.
Thank you.
Yes. And the more Sully retains all digits, the more he can continue making beautiful products.
Exactly.
So
you use standard stuff. You quarter sawn necks. Is that okay? So quarter sawn necks, any kind of
3-piece laminate. Mm-hmm.
Okay, any fingerboard, right? Maple, ebony, rosewood.
I've got some pale moon ebony that's sitting on the shelf. Tau ferro, whatever you want.
Okay, double expanding truss rods.
Of course.
There you go.
Very nice.
That's really the only option. I won't do single action truss rods. That's a whole other can of worms. We don't need to go into it, but I like to be able to adjust for up bow and back bow.
Well, it's sort of like this. It's like you get the guitar, you're like, awesome, man, I got this, single action, right? So you can only pull it. You can't go the other way.
Right.
Strings have to do the other way.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you free fret the guitar and you go, okay, well, this is trash. Because it just pushes the back bow and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. It's just like the tone arguments, and I just don't.
Oh, here we go.
No, I don't. I won't.
This is what I was going to ask him.
Tone with people.
And we were going to ask is, we've discussed Inthero.
It is the ongoing battle.
It's so many guys try to say that wood doesn't matter. It does matter. Whatever. But we wanted.
I understand both points.
Yeah. And it's good. You know why? Because it's
look at that politician answer.
I like that.
I completely do understand. What I really look for in a guitar, and what really matters most to me, is if the guitar is acoustically resonant.
There you
go. Is it loud before you plug it in?
Cool.
If so, there's a really great chance that you're going to get that thing to sound great, no matter what amp you plug it into and what pickups you put into it.
Agreed.
Nice. Now,
if the guitar isn't resonant, then you might have to work a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's what I work on.
Now let me ask you. I see around your 624 you got a pickup ring. Do you mount pickups to the body or no? Is that
sure? If somebody wants it, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, so he does it all.
Yeah, no lie.
That's nice.
I try, and it's just one of those things, a phrase I heard somebody, the best pizza place is the one that you grew up with, and it's kind of like with me and what I'm used to, and the things that you see on my site, like you'll see most of the guitars have pickup rings because all of the guitars that I've had pickup rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not really one of those things that I thought about, but I'll get questions from guys that maybe grew up with Ibanez. Mm-hmm. And say I want it, or guys in class when we're going to route out for pickups, and they go, "Oh wait, can we make these direct mount?" And I'm like, "I'm glad you said so now."
Yeah, because in a couple minutes,
we're going to have to do a little less, which is great. So yeah, I mean, if you want direct mount pickups, what do I care? I mean, it's fine. It's not.
And it does make a difference. Let me tell you, I've done them, and I was like, wow, that tone zone didn't sound that way when it was in the ring.
Yeah, my friend, are you familiar with the FU Tone PMS pickup mounting system thing?
No.
Ooh.
No.
Okay, so you're familiar with the Floyd Upgrades, Adam, and the FU Tone guys?
I'm not.
I'm not either.
Really?
This is new.
This is okay. Well, this is special then. They do all kinds of Floyd upgrades for like titanium blocks, titanium saddles, and brass blocks for Floyds. And
I've seen this stuff. Yeah,
Phil Collin, Warren DeMartini, anybody that's large national touring act that's kind of Floydy, they've got the stuff. I guess Adam is the guy that helped do the detuner with Eddie Van Halen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know what their website is, but it used to be FloydUpgrades.com, but I think they've changed it to FU Tone. It might be dash tone, but let me dash
get some of that FU
Let's
tone.
see. FU Tone. But it's fu-tone.com. So one of the things that they have, and my friend Mike, actually a ridiculously talented painter and guitar builder, designed this. It is if you've got like a guitar that says has a mounting ring and you want to kind of change it to a direct mount, but there are a little bit of things you got to do.
Yeah.
He made this little brass insert that the pickup screws to, and then that actually bolts to the body.
Oh.
And they've got like a before and after video on their site, so check it out.
Oh yeah.
So it's really, really cool, and I've got one of the prototypes, and it's pretty neat.
So you don't mess up the mounting holes on the actual pickup, because I know like when you go to screw it to the wood, well, you have to use a wood screw.
Wood screws, right?
And that just destroys the tang on the pickups,
right? Because it's threaded for
exactly
440s or whatever.
So then you're like, well, here it is,
right?
Yeah. So this is a kind of a way around that, and
cool,
and if you've got a guitar that's got mounting rings on there, you can keep the ring on there because you don't want to have just 4 open screw holes.
Sure,
screw hole. But then it's mounted to this brass thing, which is then directly mounted to the body wood, and it helps you out with that sort of thing.
That's very cool.
That is pretty
so
cool.
try it today, won't you?
Yes.
any of height adjustment availability
with that?
Yeah.
I think so.
I've seen where, so what I've seen is that guys will sometimes take a foam pad.
Sure.
And put it underneath the body of the pickup. Mm-hmm. And then that can give you actual height adjustment. But if you do your math right? Because I've done this. If you do your math right, you're just done.
But with that brass insert, that would allow you to automatically going to give you a little bit of that lift to begin with, so you're not going to be sunk way down. And I do believe that it's adjustable. So you could have Mike on your show; he could tell you all about it.
Yeah, and any height adjustment other than a fixed height is not. It's not going to give you the body contact.
I used to run.
I'm thinking it might be a good option, but the more I think about it, it's going to defeat the purpose.
Yeah, I used to run a front and back rail, right? So if you're looking at the pickup, and the guitar's standing on the strap pin, right? I used to run a rail, a 1/4-inch rail on the backside towards the bridge, and then a 1/4-inch rail. I would just step route the thing, and then I did my measurements, so the pickup would actually sit on those 2 pieces of wood,
right?
And then
the tangs go down
into into the screw hole, and when they talk about the whole tone versus no and all that, I tell you what, when you put a pickup in there and you mount it to the wood, you hear everything.
I mean, pretty much the whole body of the pickup is
the whole thing
resting
is
on the wood.
vibrating.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's a different thing, but. That is just awesome. We're going to have his website will be, of course, like on every show, will be linked.
It'll be up with the episode.
It'll be up with the episode, and it lives
perpetuity.
Yes, once it goes out to the episode's link, it will be there forever. Right. And you can always go there. And being a manufacturer, because we do put manufacturers on our link site or link page, he will be on the back
put the link there as well.
So,
absolutely. Beautiful stuff, Sully, man. And it's
Thanks, man.
It was very nice to have you on, and just to hear that.
And if our listeners want to check out and get something nice like this, man, you can. this is some cool stuff.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, just SullyGuitars.com. You can Sully Guitars on Facebook. Geez, you can go Sully Guitars on YouTube. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Just like our site, all the links are right there on the front page, man. You can see them all to the right. You just click on them.
I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Favorite tuners? Locking, not locking, or
I've recently started using Hipshot tuners, which I really like. I also like them because the keys are pretty. Because their standard design, it's a little bit different from the little bean stuff. But most of the guitars that I grew up, or owned over various years, have had Floyds on them. So if you've got a locking nut, it doesn't matter what your tuners are, because as soon as you've got the thing locked down, your tuners are taken out of equation.
True.
But I do, for the for guitars that don't have a Floyd on them. I like the hip shot tuners,
Nice.
but also I like Goto, man. They're fine as long as as long as you don't slip on you and your nut is cut well, and you got a Band-Aid for it. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and we interviewed the guy from Hip Shot. I forget his name.
Nice.
Yes.
And they're a good company.
Yeah. For sure.
and they I've worked with them just for a little bit, and Cinnamon, they're a nice lady that works in sales. Her name is Cinnamon, and she's happy and nice. So I liked her. She was very nice. So yay for Hip Shot.
Yay for Hip Shot.
Yeah.
And if you happen to someday want to do, I don't know about all your models, but if you do someday a 3 on the side that has the Gibson space, and you could get all the automatic tuners everybody's pulling off their Les Pauls.
Well, yeah, but I do. Well,
he has the 3 on the side, but they don't line up like that.
Yeah, the 3 on the side, my 3.3 headstock is also got pretty close to a straight string pull, so you don't suffer any tuning woes and whatnot.
Yeah, there you go. You see that there.
I hate tuning woes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I hate that, man. That's awesome. Yeah, that's beautiful too. The 3 on the side. But yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff, man. Beautiful stuff. Sully, thank you so much for taking the time, man. It's been a pleasure. I hope you had fun, and I hope we can turn some people on to a new guitar that they haven't heard about.
Yeah,
Me too.
I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah,
Seriously
for sure.
do.
Sure.
I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for the FU.
No, you bet. Anytime.
Because I wasn't aware of that either.
Well, now I'm going to be on the internet all night.
I know.
Look at that.
Never stops.
Well, sometimes we got to stop the show, so I think that's now. But Sully, thank you very, very much. Have a great rest of the day, and much continued success to you.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Right, take care, man. Well, and there you have the story.
What a cool guy.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
Jon Sullivan.
Yes, and let me tell you, they he obviously is more of a metal guy, but these are not, you look at these guitars and he has a line of stuff that you would go, okay, it's definitely more of the metal side,
right?
But his 92, it's a double cut Les Paul Jr., man. Mm-hmm. That thing is gorgeous. And he builds all this right there. It's all done right there.
92 or 72?
He has a 92.
Oh, okay.
So he has the
72 is the one he's working on now.
71.
Oh, 71.
Yes. 71, the Raven, the Galaxy V, the Catfish is what looks like a Strat without a pick guard on it. The 624 is like a hot rodded Strat, right, with 24 fret bolt on. Mm-hmm. The 624T is the same guitar with a Floyd.
Okay.
And then you got the 92, which I don't know. I maybe have to read up on it, but it looks like a Les Paul Jr. double cutaway. And then he's got the Supernova, and the Supernova looks like a crazy backwards star. Cool. Or that could be, the star guitar was one that Grover and Wayne Charvel did back in the old days.
I forgot to ask him, but he says he doesn't like short scale. I was wondering if all of his guitars, because that's what he prefers, are long scale. I think. Well, let me see. I think that would be kind of like playing a Les Paul, a single cut with a long scale on it, which would be actually kind of cool, kind of different. Yes. Yeah. Let's see here. Doesn't have the specs on this. We would have to ask him. Personally, Chris, that's not. And maybe he'll do what you want. It sounds like he does everything else you want. Maybe he'll put the now here's the cool here's the cool part. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, so there's more cool parts. Yeah, for this Les Paul Jr. Style guitar, this 92. Right. He's building this guitar, handmade, for around $2,000. What? $2,000. I don't know how the guy's eating. What? But it says prices begin around $2,000. So wow, that is crazy. That is that's because you're getting crazy. A completely, pretty much one off. I mean, you know what the Gibson Les Paul prices have gone up to now. It's ridiculous. Oh, I mean, it's like you better chances of buying a car. Shave $1,000 off of that, and you can get a handmade guitar from him. And it's a cool looking 59. Yeah, very cool. The whole build piece is out here and all, and
I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, I would buy this in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I mean, for $2,000, because see, here's the thing: you can go to Gibson and you can buy one of those double cuts, but it's you got to go to the VOS before you start getting to what the build quality of this guitar is, and probably the wood quality, right? And you're going to be over $2,000, and you're going to be waiting.
And well, I'm sure you wait. With Sully,
you're going to wait.
Anything good is worth the wait.
But you also get a little bit more of a straighter string pull. There's some things that
was very interesting.
He's refined.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely,
and that's always good because
I don't think they use the same truss rods.
No, but I tell you what, that hole looks pretty close. He's using an Allen wrench. I can see that. He's not using the
nut driver.
The nut driver.
Yeah.
So his headstocks probably can take a little bit more beating than the Gibsons can.
Less of an angle on it to start with, and
Yeah, the whole deal.
Right. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sully, thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
That was a good one. I hope our audience learned something. I know I did.
Check out this guy.
For sure.
This is what we're doing for you.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So, until next time, my friend.
When we have yet another guest.
That's right.
That's right.
I am Mick Marcelino.
And I'm Jeff Bober.
And look at that. You got me. God damn it. And we are saying...
Onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.